Right now, in today's video, we're going to be speaking about wonderful Teslas. Should you get a Tesla to do ride share in? Now, I am going to be honest with you guys. Back, I think it was about a little over a year ago when gas prices shot all the way up here in North Jersey, where I'm at, to over $5 a gallon. Getting a Tesla was a thought of mine. But of course, at the time, Teslas were very expensive. Like, I think the highest end Tesla that's kind of like the SUV that you can get was like $80,000 to $100,000. Now, of course, since then, gas prices has dropped. I guess Teslas aren't really in demand, because one thing that I found over the last couple weeks is that it's interesting to see how the prices of Teslas have actually dropped. Like, I believe the, whatever the Pacific, it wasn't the SUV, but if you went on Hertz last year to rent one of these Teslas to do ride share, I think it was like the Model 3, whatever the standard car version of the Tesla is, that Uber Hertz had rent out to a lot of drivers, used to be like $40,000, $50,000 if you were actually considering purchasing one of these videos. If we fast forward to today, you could get that same vehicle for like $25,000, $28,000, which, coming down from $40,000, $50,000, I really think that's a decent price. But I really think that there's a lot more to it when it comes to why the prices of Tesla over these last couple weeks, couple months, has actually dropped. When we think about electric vehicles, right? Like, let's take Tesla. You know, prior to the pandemic, this is the 100% honest truth. Prior to the pandemic, 2018, 2019, a lot of people have short-term memory, because how many people really drove a Tesla back in 2018, 2019? For some reason, the pandemic fueled people wanting to have a Tesla. And then after the pandemic, high gas prices, made people want to go out and get a Tesla. And if you're someone out there watching, of course, and you do ride share, you're spending a lot of money on gas. So therefore, if you're spending $4, $5, $6 per gallon on gas, getting yourself a Tesla might actually sound beneficial. I completely understand it. But going back to the point that I was making, 2018, 2019, not as many people had a Tesla then like they do now. And also, going back to those years, it's also important to point out that Tesla was actually almost out of here. They almost was bankrupt. It almost didn't work. It almost was a failed business idea if you go back 2018, which is actually only 6 years ago. Now, another point that I want to make is that when we talk about electric vehicles as a whole, you have Hyundai making electric vehicles. You have a few different car companies making electric vehicles. Now, it's safe to say that it's new technology. And when I say new technology, I want to put it to you guys this way. Today, the beginning of 2024, February 2024, right? I want you to ask yourself a question. How many people are driving any Tesla and they have 120,000 miles, 150,000 miles, heck, even 200,000 miles on that vehicle? It's not a lot. It's not a lot of people that have actually stood the test of time and got to that point. The point that I'm trying to make here is that if there's not many people at this current moment today that they're driving a Tesla that has 150,000, 200,000 miles on it, they haven't stood the test of time to know what components are going to break, what components cost this much, and everything like that. Because going back to Hyundai, now this is off the topic of Tesla, but I think in concerns to thinking about buying a Tesla, it's very important information. When it comes to Hyundai, and you guys can do your research on this, there were some people a few years ago that bought the EV Hyundais to do rideshare. Two of them that I have found in particular. One of them, his battery died on this Hyundai once he got past 100,000 miles. I think he was operating this vehicle around 110,000 miles, and his battery went out on him. He was no longer under warranty. Hyundai gave him a bill of $15,000 just for a new battery, and that didn't even include the labor. So with that being said, now granted, it's a Hyundai, but you have to ask yourself the very important question of, has Teslas really been around long enough to stand the test of when will I need to purchase a new battery? Because for most of us out here that drive gas vehicles, there's really only two main components that can go out on you that would cost you a whole lot of money, and that's the engine and the transmission. Now, when you consider getting an electric vehicle, it's in my opinion, and you guys can let me know down in the comments, you now have three different major components in that vehicle that can cost a lot of money. Now, you can forget about the engine and the transmission if you have a battery in this electric vehicle that when you need to replace it, right? You can't go to the salvage yard like you can a regular gas vehicle's engine or transmission and say, hey, let me get a low mile engine or transmission here. Here's a couple $1,000. All right, bet. Let me take it to the mechanic and we're out the door. Try calling your local salvage yard and telling them, hey, I need a battery for a Tesla Model 3. They won't have it. So your only option in this case is to go back to the dealership and buy their expensive battery, which is around $15,000. And that does not include the labor of putting this thing in. We know that that would be a terrible situation for just your average person out here in the world, but it's gonna really be a horrible situation for someone out there who this vehicle is their money. They're in rideshare, they're doing Uber and Lyft. The only perk that I could potentially see a rideshare person getting any EV vehicle is that you have $4,000 per year you can make within the app. For every trip that you give inside of this vehicle, you get an extra $1, up to 4,000 rides, totaling to $4,000 per year. If you're able to keep this Tesla, let's hypothetically say, for 3 years, and you're someone, and I probably won't recommend this for someone like myself that only drives on the platforms part-time, but if you're someone out there and you drive full-time, everything that I've said in this video is just something that I want you guys to take into consideration. And I never make videos where I tell you guys what to do. My job is just to get you some important information, and you guys can take that information, give it some thought, crunch the numbers, and see if it could potentially work for you. Now, if you're a full-time driver and you're cranking 3,000, 4,000 trips a year, you get that extra $3,000, $4,000 per year. Let's hypothetically say you're able to get a smooth 3 to 4 years out of this Tesla that you just purchased, right? That's $9,000 if you get 3 years. $12,000 if you get it for 4 years. 4 years at $12,000 if you're able to get like a Model 3 for $25,000. You're just about halfway there in extra money that the rideshare companies gave you, to the point where it's like, okay, you know what? They already paid for half the car. So it could work out for you. It's just some things that you definitely have to take into consideration, because one thing for sure is that when you're owning the vehicle that you're operating inside of the rideshare industry, one thing is for certain, you're gonna need to keep your expenses low, because if your expenses are high, you're gonna get ate alive, because there's just not enough money in the industry for it to sustain itself. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. But like always, we're gonna leave the video here. Like always, I want you guys to get down below in the comments. Let me know what you guys actually think. You know, of course, if this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up, get subscribed to the channel. Money Making Joey, I'm out of here, and I will see you guys in the next one.